Welcome to this week's Ask Charlie. I am sat outside my favourite butcher. I called this morning to place my order. I'm cooking for 25 people for lunch on Saturday, and I thought I would share with you what I'm cooking. It's goulash, comfort food, warming, cosy, and that is what my client has requested, which is absolutely perfect. So I'm actually going to make 3 batches of it, and 1 batch we're going to make together, and I'm going to share it with you as to how I do it. And when I'm mass catering, I'll talk you through, you know, how you can double things, quadruple things, etc, etc. So I thought we would start here in the car outside the butcher's, and I think they have got my order ready, so I just need to pay and pick it up and then go to the supermarket and get all of the other bits I need, and then we'll go back home and get cooking. There, he's got it all ready for me.
It's there.
So I'm back, having done my food shop, and I have got my meat here. So the butcher has really sweetly vacuum packed it for me in portion sizes. So it's really handy. And I often talk to you guys, well, I don't think I have mentioned it for a while, but I have in the past. To have a really good relationship with your butcher or your greengrocer, or, you know, even the checkout girls in your local supermarket, it's always nice to ask them how they are, if they had a good day, have a little bit of a natter with them. It's so great for me just to be able to call up my butcher and say, I'll be in an hour, is it possible for you to get it prepped? Because if I stood there waiting for them to get all the meat ready, so in total I've got 6 kilograms of meat, I'd be there for quite a long time, and that's not a good use of my time. So it's a little time management tip and a relationship tip. You know, it doesn't take much to be courteous, be polite, ask if they've had a good weekend or how their Christmas was, or whatever it might be. A little bit of small chat can go a really, really long way. And you know, I've got to know my butchers over the years, and they've become friends, which is really lovely. And so, you know, I have a great relationship. I can call up, I can say, it's Charlie, could you prepare this for me? And also ask their advice. Like I said, Neil, how much do you recommend? Like, this is what I'm thinking. Do you think that's right? They love being asked their advice. So that's another tip for you. So I have got 3 of these, and I'm going to do this in 3 batches. Let me just put this in the bin. We're just going to cook 1 batch together, but this is for 8 people, and so I'm just, you know, doubling up, and I will bulk it out. I you know, have worked out how much per person I think I need, and we will go from there. So I'm just going to pop that all into a bowl there. I've got some extra virgin olive oil. Whenever I say olive oil, I always mean extra virgin. I'm just going to pour a little bit of that over and season with black pepper and sea salt. And a couple of good pinches of salt. And then using some tongs, just toss that through, so make sure that it's all got a little bit of black pepper and salt and oil over your meat. So just give that a toss around, and then we're going to just seal this in batches first. So I have got the creuset behind me. I'm going to add a little extra bit of olive oil into there, and then just seal this beef in probably 3 or 4 batches. So I've got another bowl at the ready to put the meat in once it's sealed, and my Le Creuset there. The farmer has just been to deliver hay and straw, which is perfect. We've almost run out. So I'm just going to add in the beef and just seal it on both sides. When it's just browned on both sides, pop it into your bowl ready and waiting. You don't want, we're not cooking it, we are just colouring it on each side. So that's my last batch just browning off there. And I'm going to add that in. One last bit left, add that in. We're using the same pan, and I am going to add 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds into my pan here. And I've got a really lovely crust in my pan, and I'm just going to toast these, a little bit more olive oil, and we're going to deglaze the pan in a moment with a red wine. Just going to literally let those toast for a minute in the olive oil, and then I'm adding in red wine. I want this to boil and alcohol will burn off, but we'll have a wonderful flavour. So I'm just literally going to let that bubble away for a couple of minutes. And at the same time, I'm also cleaning the bottom of the pan, and that is full of wonderful flavour. So we want that all captured in here. There. And now I'm going to pour that over my beef here. And using the same pan, I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil and then cook my onions. So I've got 2 chopped white onions. I'm just going to add those straight into my pan, and I'm going to cook them until they're softened. I might need to reduce the heat a little bit because I don't want them to burn. I just want them to soften nicely. And again, using the same pan, it's got all of that flavour already in there. I am going to just reduce the heat and get the garlic ready. My onions are softening nicely there, and I have just crushed 4 cloves of garlic. Now, somebody told me that if you use a silicone pastry brush, it's much easier to get the garlic out of your garlic crusher, and they are absolutely right. So that was a great tip. Thank you for sharing it with me. We'll just get that all in there. And then we'll cook the garlic now for a minute or so in with those onions. You don't want to add the garlic in at the start when you start to soften your onions, because it will burn and the flavour won't be very nice. You just add the garlic in at the end, and we'll just cook that for a moment. The garlic has cooked for about a minute. So I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of paprika and 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika. Mix that through and let that just cook for a moment, and you'll start to smell the wonderful aromas. And now I'm going to add in my tomato paste at this stage. I'm going to add in, I'm going to guess, about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And give that a good stir through. I've got 2 green peppers and 2 red peppers, which I am going to add in and just stir those in with the tomato paste and the onions and garlic and the paprika. Now, I don't know if you can see, I'll take you up close in a minute. It's actually snowing, so this is a perfect thing to be cooking, warming comfort food on a snowy day in Sussex. I don't often say that, but it is. Now I've got 2 tins of chopped tomatoes here, so I'm going to add those in now at this stage. And I've got some beef stock. I'm just going to pour it into my tins, give them a swirl around, and that way you clean your tins, you don't waste any, and it works really well. A good hack I learnt from my mother. So I'll now add the rest of the stock in there. I've got 3 bay leaves. I love cooking with bay. It adds such wonderful richness to the flavour. And now it's time to add in my beef, caraway seeds and red wine that I have got waiting in the wings here. And I'm just going to, I don't want that to happen, slosh that in carefully. I'm going to add a little bit of plain flour in just to thicken it. You can use corn flour if you want it to be gluten-free. I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons, good heaped 2 tablespoons of plain flour. Make sure that you've mixed all of that flour through, and I'm going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. Now, if you think you need a little bit more liquid, you can add a little bit of water. I'm actually going to add 1 tin of water and bring this to the boil. And then once it is boiling, I will pop the lid on. I will pop it in the simmering oven of my AGA and let it simmer away for a good few hours. Now you can do this in a slow cooker. It works really well in a slow cooker, or you can just simmer it on the top if you don't have a slow cooker or an AGA. But it's the longer and slower you cook it, the more the flavours develop. And actually, it's better the following day. When I'm making a casserole or a stew or something like that, I always like to do it ahead of time and let the flavours really develop for the following day or even the day after. Freezing it works really well because I'm actually doing this for a catering job. We're going to have some this evening as well, but because I'm doing it for a catering job, I'm actually going to freeze it and get ahead because I'm doing this at the beginning of the week. The catering job is on Saturday, and so I'm going to just get organised and pop this in the freezer, and it will be absolutely perfect. I will defrost it the night before, make sure it's fully defrosted, and then just reheat it through before serving. I'm just adding a little bit of water. In fact, not half a tin of water is all that needs, but I want to make sure that it's fully covered and I've got enough liquid. I'm going to pop the lid on and then let it simmer away for the next few hours. And actually, it's still snowing a little bit. It has settled. Where's my lid? On that goes, and the joy of having an AGA is that I can use my simmering oven, which is perfect. So there we are. I shall leave it to do it. It stopped snowing, which is a shame. I went to film it for you, and it had stopped. Actually, I've come out for a walk with the dogs while the goulash was cooking away for the next few hours. And actually, it's really lovely to feel a bit of a chill. I know that might sound silly, but having stood in front of the AGA for the last hour or so cooking, I got quite warm. It's quite nice. I ummed about putting a hat on. I thought, you know what, I just want to feel the cold. It's been such a warm winter that it's actually I'm quite excited to have a cold snap. And yeah, anyway, I'm enjoying walking the dogs. I've got well, Florence is disappearing off there. I've got Penny on the lead, and Lola's leading the way up ahead. She should be healing, but anyway, she's having a run and a whirl of a time with Florence. Dear Tess is getting seriously old, so she has stayed at home, snuggled up. She's spending quite a lot of time sleeping. I mean, she's almost 16, so that is quite some age for an old girl. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy walking the dogs, and I'll see you back in the kitchen later on with the goulash. quantities, so I'm just adding it in here, and Lola has got a bone that she's gnawing at my feet. So if you wonder what that noise is, it's Lola having a wonderful time chewing on a bone. So this recipe I have cooked and shared with you is for 8 people, and you could halve it. So 1 red pepper, 1 green pepper, 1 onion, etc, etc, and that would serve 4 people. But I've done it for 8, and then I am doing 3 batches of that, and I just find it easy to work like that. So if I find a recipe and I work out my numbers, I always over cater. And because there's 2 tins of tomatoes, there's the peppers, I know that that is a really generous helping. And so when you're catering for lots of people, you can like work out your quantities from there. So that's how I do it. And I would rather do it in 3 batches rather than 2 batches and have a sort of overwhelming amount to deal with at one time. But it's personal preference and it's how you like to cook. But I would personally, I know that my dishes I can lift easily and I can maneuver and I can get into the oven, and I'm not going to have too much in one pan, if that makes sense. And over time, I mean, I've been mass catering for 24 years. That is quite a long time. I started when I was 19 cooking for a local rugby club, and so I've got used to it. But I know that 2 kilos of meat is as much as my big Le Creuset could take. So that's how I work it out, and it's trial and error and finding things. But I would rather not have my pan overflowing by trying to cram too much in, so I'd rather break it down and do it in 3 batches, which might be a little bit more labor intensive. I could do probably 1 lot in my huge pan, but then it might catch on the bottom, and I would just personally rather work like that. And so hopefully that you know, helps you figure it out. So maybe, you know, if you're cooking for 16 people, then you would double my recipe that I've linked down below, and you'll know that you'll have plenty with a little bit left over. So hopefully that's helpful. So my goulash is ready to serve. I'm serving it with some whole grain rice and some broccoli. The broccoli I have just cooked in the oven, and I've popped a little bit of garlic oil, some salt, and I actually used lemon infused olive oil because it is just delicious, and I've just roasted it. I love to serve veg roasted. So let's serve up our goulash. Now you can take the lid off and let it reduce down, but because I'm going to freeze this, then I actually want to keep the liquid in, because when you freeze and reheat it, you will lose some moisture. So I'm not going to reduce it down at this stage, but I just wanted to show you what it was like. And because that is slow cooked, the beef will be really tender. Now you can serve it with some creme fraiche, with some yogurt. I actually got these sweet little balls for a Christmas treat to myself from Hannah from Pop and Flow. Hannah has all sorts of gorgeous things. So if they are still available, I will leave them linked down below. Now I actually don't have any fresh herbs at all, but if I did, I would put a little bit of parsley over the top there to serve, or some coriander or something like that. But that is my goulash, which is perfect warming comfort food for this time of year. So I really hope that you love it. I will leave the recipe linked down below, and it will be available on my website as well. You can print it off and keep it somewhere safe and recreate it when you want to. But a really delicious warming meal for this time of year. I hope that you have enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will be with you on Friday with my weekly vlog.